Good morning, students. In this lecture, we will discuss central idea of the poem Television, written by the famous writer, famous poet Roald Dahl. Students, in our previous lectures, we have discussed the text of the poem, and today we will discuss its central idea. The poem Television is written by Roald Dahl, who is most famous for having written Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, The BFG, and James and the Giant Peach. So these are the famous writings written by Roald Dahl. You can add this before answering the question of central idea of the poem. Let's now discuss the central idea. In this poem, the poet wants to convey the message or the idea that television is doing great damage to little children. Means the television is damaging the senses of little children in many ways. The poet wants to convey this idea through this poem. It has killed all the imaginative faculties of children. Faculties means powers. Television has killed the imagination power of children. You can write the second line as it has killed all the imaginative or imagination power of children. It has made them dullards and they have lost all the power to think. It has made them dullards. The dullards means television has made the children dull. Instead of writing dullards, you can write this sentence as it has made the children dull and they have lost all the power to think, or they have lost all the thinking power. Parents feel helpless since they find no other means of entertainment for their children. The poet says that when the parents are unable to find any means source of entertainment. Means of entertainment means source of enjoyment. Means of entertainment means source of enjoyment. The poet says that when the parents of children are unable to find any source of enjoyment for them, then they bring television at home and they feel because they feel helpless. To this, the poet says that before the television was invented, children entertained themselves through reading books. The poet says that before the television was invented, before the invention of the television, children in past times they entertained or they enjoyed by by reading books. He suggests the parents that instead of the television set, they should get for their children interesting books to read and thus save them from becoming dull and blind. So, the poet is suggesting in this poem to the parents of children that instead of the television set, that instead of bringing television set at their homes, they should get for their children interesting books to read. In the poem he is mentioning different poems written by different writers having different characters. All these things we have discussed in our previous lecture. So he says that the parents, instead of bringing television set at their homes, they should buy interesting books to read for their children and thus save them from becoming dull and blind. By doing so, that parents can save their children from being dull, from being blind by watching TV for so long hours. So, in this poem, the poet is describing why television is harmful and what are the ways through which we can distance ourselves from it. So, what is the idea of the poem? The poet is describing that in which ways the television is harmful for children and what are the ways or solutions by which we can distance ourselves from it, we can make our children uh, get away from it. The moral which can be learned from this poem is that we should not watch TV and should read books. So, what is the moral of this poem? Idea of this poem that we should not watch TV, instead, we should read books so that we have good imagination and a good vocabulary too. Why is reading books important for us, important for children? Because by reading books we can make our imagination power good and we can also increase our vocabulary. So this is the central idea of the poem. Television, prepare it students. Tomorrow we will continue with our next lecture. Thank you. Thank you very much.